Mamata Banerjee making statements, very, very strong statements from the Trinamool Congress leader coming out of West Bengal, saying that Tatas cannot dictate terms to the West Bengal government. If Tatas want, they can pull out the 1,500 crores worth of investment, wouldn't make much of a difference. On the other hand, you got the West Bengal Chief Secretary, I think, calling a meeting of all the top officials to discuss the situation. Perhaps, what Mr. Ratan Tata really wanted doesn't speak always, but today very candid about what he thought about the entire thing. He said that you can't operate a plant under police protection. You have a physical danger to most of the employees of Tatas in Bengal, and the working conditions aren't exactly what he'd like them to be. He also made it very clear that although he's got money invested there, he wouldn't hesitate to pull out if the need, or perhaps if it comes to that. Let's hear out Mr. Ratan Tata once more on what he had to say.
There is a view that for various political reasons that we should not be here, or what we are trying to do should be altered, which it cannot be, then we would necessarily face an issue very reluctantly where we would need to move. And if anybody is under the impression that because we have made this large investment of about 1,500 crores, it's not a hypocritical investment, that because we have made this investment we would not move, they're wrong, because we would move, whatever the cost. If the state, for any reason, or any segment of the state feels that we are exploiting them, first of all, that's totally untrue, but if that is the feeling, we will exit. So that has been my concern.
Okay, Horn, certainly locked in battle between Ratan Tata and the Tata Group with Mamata Banerjee and the West Bengal government. Siddharth Patinkar now joins us. Siddharth, it's big news, and it also raises the possibility that the dream of the world's cheapest car might definitely be put to a hold and delayed by quite a considerable extent.
Absolutely. In fact, Namrata, isn't it ironic, because already from the time the project was first envisioned and announced to the time when the car was supposed to roll out, the whole scenario in the world has changed. Input cost pressures have changed. So if this gets pushed further, then, we may not really be calling it the 1 lakh rupee car anymore. But having said that, of course, temperatures rising in West Bengal, both sides sticking to their stand. The point that Mr. Tata has made today is really what Tata has been saying all along, but coming out and bluntly stating it for the first time, which is that, look, when we wanted to create this car and we wanted to meet a certain price point, there were a lot of compulsions. At this time, we were looking at a very specific, tight sort of a production in terms of costs. And the only way it works is if you have a huge campus with all the vendor suppliers at hand, what we call just in time in the auto sector, which means that there are no transportation costs, there are no overheads in terms of inventory build-up costs or storage costs, and that's just what the component suppliers have been ready to do. Now, with what Mamata Banerjee proposes, that's not possible. And what's interesting, I think what we're not also picking up from Mr. Tata is that he said, besides the fact that he said we're ready to pull out the investment and move away, even at this point, walk away, the other interesting thing that, look, no compromise formula is acceptable to us. It has to either work the way we've said from the start, the way it was promised from the West Bengal government side, or it doesn't work at all. And that's truly why this becomes even more crucial, or the rhetoric rises even further, and the gun sort of gets held to the West Bengal government's head. Because unless it works the way it was always planned on paper, it's not going to work. That's the big message, and that's the reason why it becomes even more crucial than just a threat from Ratan Tata. Namrata.
All right, Siddharth, we'll come back to you for more details on that one. Mahantesh Sabarad also joins us. He's senior research analyst at Centrum Broking. He covers the automobile space. Mahantesh, afternoon. Thanks for joining us. You heard Siddharth also speaking. What do you make of all of it? Do you think the Tatas will pull out at this stage?
Very difficult for them to pull out at this stage, actually, speaking. But then knowing Mr. Tata and what the kind of threat that he has issued right now, he may very well do it. But then economically speaking or financially speaking, it's very difficult to move out.
Mahantesh, afternoon, Namrata also joining in. He also mentioned that there is no plan B in place. He's of course said he's ready to move out in case the proposal doesn't go through in its original format, but he doesn't have a plan B in place. So it would mean a considerable delay. In your forecast, how much of a delay will affect nano production and therefore your Tata Motors stock price?
See, actually, most of the analysts, and including me, would have factored nano at some degree of losses ahead in the initial phases, actually. So a further delay in the nano project actually adds further to the better of the in terms of EPS estimates or profit estimates. But that's besides the point, because sentimentally speaking, what it does is that they'll have to now cuff in a little bit more investments to get these plans in shape. If the investments in Singur come to a dud, then they'll have to make additional investments of similar proportions elsewhere. So that's the worrying part.
Mahantesh, there might be a lot of rhetoric going on and all that, but at the end of the day, Tata's a very shrewd businessman. Do you think after putting in 1,500 crores, after sinking in that much amount of money, you just pull out? Don't you think in some ways it's also a little bit of posturing on behalf of the Tatas at this particular point, because the launch isn't very far away, and they might be just signaling to the government that smoothen things out, or else, who knows?
Maybe they are posturing at this point of time. I really can't understand what their stance is on this count. But then what's clear to me is they would like to go into the project in its current form at Singur itself. And they would like to pull out whatever it takes to do that.
Okay, Mahantesh, aside from Tata Motors, what about the smaller players, suppliers to Nano, a Rico Auto, maybe a Sona Koyo and so forth, there are a whole host of them, because they don't have the financial clout that Tata Motors has, and they were banking on this project to be a big one for them.
Yeah, they were banking on this project, but most of them had faced their investments in such a manner that they hadn't overcommitted to the initial investments like Tatas have had to do on the Singur project. They would bring in their investments at the later stage on the Nano, so they would be content by supplying their parts from their earlier set of plants which were outside the state of Bengal, wherever they are located. So that was the plan as far as ancillaries are concerned. To me, a change in the plan from Singur doesn't inconvenience them by much.
So Mahantesh, you're saying even if they have actually do pull out of Singur, you're saying it's not going to be that much of a negative for Tata Motors? Is that what you're saying? And if they leave it open-ended, they don't give you plan B immediately saying that we're going to take the plant to this place or that place. They just say we're pulling out of unavoidable reasons. If they say that, what do you imagine the stock will be treated like?
There are two courses of action. If they say that we're out of the Nano project altogether, then the stock should be reacting positively. If they are saying no, we'll put up alternative plan B and revisit the Nanos from some other location elsewhere, then the point I'm trying to make is it will be negative simply because another level of or another bout of investment will be required to be made for such a plant. So that's what I'm essentially trying to say.
All right, Mahantesh, good speaking with you. Thanks very much for joining us right now. Tatas are having in Singur. We'll get you the latest update from the West Bengal government perspective as well on the 230 factor.